Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the EDF Titan, watching the stars drift by through the massive view screen. The ship was huge, bigger than any vessel Earth had ever built before. Its hull stretched for nearly 2 kilometers, packed with the most advanced weapons and shields human technology could create. 15,000 crew members called it home, and right now they were all doing routine patrol work near the edge of human space. Morrison liked these quiet moments. The bridge hummed with the soft sounds of people working at their stations. Navigation Officer Sam Mitchell checked their course for the 3rd time that hour. Chief Science Officer Dr. Ryan Cooper studied sensor readings that showed nothing but empty space and distant stars. It was peaceful, almost boring. That peace ended when Communications Officer Lisa Barnes suddenly straightened at her station. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," she said, her fingers flying over her controls. "It's some kind of transmission, but not from any human ship." Morrison walked over to her station. "What do you mean, not human?" "The signal pattern is completely different from anything in our databases. But Captain, there are mathematical sequences embedded in it. Universal constants like pi and the speed of light. Someone is trying to communicate." Dr. Cooper hurried over from his science station. "May I see the data, Lisa?" She transferred the information to his screen. Cooper studied it for several minutes while the bridge crew waited quietly. Finally, he looked up with an expression of wonder and concern. "This is definitely from an intelligent alien species," he said. "The mathematical sequences are clearly designed to show that whoever sent this understands advanced concepts. But, Captain, I think this is a distress call." "A distress call?" Morrison felt his stomach tighten. "How can you tell?" "The transmission is getting more frantic. The mathematical sequences are being repeated faster and faster, and there are what look like coordinate data mixed in. Someone is in serious trouble and they're begging for help." Admiral Kate Sullivan, the ship's executive officer, stepped closer. "Captain, we need to be careful here. First contact protocols exist for good reasons. We don't know who these aliens are or what kind of situation we might be walking into." Morrison nodded. Kate was right to be cautious. Earth had only recently developed faster-than-light travel and joined the larger galactic community. They had met a few other species, but always under controlled conditions with lots of preparation and diplomacy. "Where's the signal coming from?" he asked. Lieutenant Commander Alex Turner worked at the tactical station. "I'm triangulating the source now, Captain. It appears to originate from a star system about 3 days away at maximum warp speed." "Lisa," Barnes held up her hand. "Captain, I'm getting more of the transmission now. The universal translator is starting to pick up patterns. I think I can make out some words." "Put it on speakers," Morrison ordered. The bridge filled with a strange, musical voice speaking in an alien language. But underneath the alien words, the computer's translation came through clearly. "Help us, please help us. We are the Zorathians of Kalara Prime. Our world is under attack. The Vraxx have come. They destroy everything. Our defenses are failing. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help. The Vraxx show no mercy. They consume entire civilizations. We are running out of time." The bridge fell silent. Morrison felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him. Somewhere out there, an entire alien civilization was crying out for help. They were 3 days away from whatever disaster was happening to them. "Captain," Dr. Cooper said quietly, "the transmission is getting weaker. Either their equipment is failing or—" He didn't finish the sentence. Morrison looked around at his crew. These were good people, the best Earth had to offer. They had signed up to protect humanity, but did that responsibility extend to alien species they had never met? "What do we know about these Vraxx they mentioned?" he asked. Cooper shook his head. "Nothing in our databases. But from the tone of the transmission, they sound like some kind of hostile species that attacks other civilizations." Chief Engineer Carlos Ramirez spoke up from his station near the back of the bridge. "Captain, the Titan is the most powerful warship Earth has ever built. If these Zorathians need military help, we're probably the only human ship that could make a difference." Admiral Sullivan stepped closer to Morrison. "Jake, I understand the desire to help, but we're talking about getting involved in an alien war. We don't know the politics, we don't know the history, and we don't know what we'd be getting into. Morrison walked back to the captain's chair and sat down. Through the view screen, the stars looked the same as always, but everything felt different now. Somewhere in that darkness, people were dying. Not humans, but intelligent beings who understood mathematics and could build transmitters and were desperately asking for help. Lisa, are you still receiving the transmission? Yes, Captain, but it's getting fainter. And the time between repetitions is getting longer. Morrison closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, his decision was made. Sam, lay in a course for the source of that transmission. Maximum warp. Course laid in, Captain. Morrison looked around the bridge one more time. I know this isn't standard procedure. I know we're taking risks. But somewhere out there, an entire civilization is about to die, and they asked for help. The Titan was built to protect people. Maybe it's time we expanded our definition of who deserves that protection. Admiral Sullivan nodded slowly. If we're doing this, we go in ready for anything. Agreed. Alex, I want battle stations as soon as we drop out of warp. Carlos, I want every system running at peak efficiency. Ryan, I want you to learn everything you can about these species during the trip. Morrison stood up and walked to the view screen as the stars began to stretch into lines of light. The Titan was jumping to warp speed, racing toward a distant star system where an alien civilization was fighting for its life. Lisa, keep monitoring that signal. If it stops... Morrison paused, then continued. If it stops, we'll know we're too late. The bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency as the massive Dreadnought carved through space toward an unknown destiny. Behind them, Earth grew smaller and smaller until it disappeared entirely. Ahead lay 3 days of travel and then whatever remained of the Zorathian civilization. Morrison gripped the back of his chair and watched the stars rush past. For the first time in Earth's history, humans were racing to save an alien species. He just hoped they wouldn't arrive too late. The EDF Titan dropped out of warp speed at the edge of the Kalara system, and Captain Jake Morrison immediately knew they had arrived in the middle of a nightmare. My God, whispered Dr. Ryan Cooper from his science station. Through the main view screen, they could see Kalara Prime, a beautiful blue and green world that should have looked peaceful. Instead, it was surrounded by dozens of dark, twisted ships that seemed to be made of living metal and bone. The alien vessels moved like predators, circling the planet while smaller craft dove down toward the surface like attacking birds. Battle stations, all hands to battle stations, Morrison announced over the ship's communication system. Alarms began sounding throughout the Titan as 15,000 crew members rushed to their posts. Lieutenant Commander Alex Turner worked frantically at his tactical station. Captain, I'm reading 47 hostile vessels of unknown design. They appear to be attacking the planet directly. I'm also detecting what looks like a small defensive fleet, but they're heavily outnumbered. Those must be the Zorathians, Morrison said. What's the condition of their ships? Not good, sir. I'm reading massive damage to most of their vessels. They're barely holding together. Navigation Officer Sam Mitchell looked up from his station. Captain, several of the attacking ships are breaking off from the main group. I think they've noticed us. Morrison nodded grimly. He had expected this. A single ship arriving in the middle of a battle was bound to attract attention. Communications. Can you reach the Zorathian fleet? Lisa Barnes worked at her controls for several seconds. I'm trying, Captain, but there's a lot of interference from the battle. Wait, I'm getting something. The main screen flickered and then showed the bridge of an alien vessel. The being standing in the center was tall and graceful, with skin that seemed to shimmer like crystal. Her large eyes showed exhaustion and desperate hope. I am High Chancellor Zethara of the Zorathian Republic, she said, her voice carrying a musical quality even through the translator. Are you here to help us? I'm Captain Morrison of the Earth ship Titan. We received your distress signal. What's your situation? Zethara's expression showed relief mixed with despair. The Vraxx attacked us 3 days ago without warning. They are a hive mind species that consumes entire civilizations. They leave nothing alive, nothing standing. Our defensive fleet is almost destroyed and our planetary shields are failing. Dr. Cooper stepped forward. High Chancellor, what can you tell us about Vraxx technology and tactics? They use biological ships that can repair themselves. Their weapons are designed to break down both organic and artificial materials. They attack in swarms, overwhelming any defense through pure numbers. We have never seen them retreat or show mercy. Morrison studied the tactical display that Turner was updating in real time. The situation was bad. The Zorathian defense ships were falling back toward the planet, clearly outmatched by the Vraxx forces. How long can your planetary defenses hold? Morrison asked. Perhaps 2 hours at most, Zathura replied. We are evacuating as many people as we can, but we need at least 6 hours to complete the evacuation of our major cities. Admiral Kate Sullivan moved to Morrison's side. Captain, we're looking at odds of nearly 50-1. The Titan is powerful, but not that powerful. Morrison looked at the view screen showing the graceful alien leader whose people were about to be destroyed. Then he looked at his crew, humans who had volunteered to serve in Earth's first deep space fleet. High Chancellor, what are your people's capabilities? What kind of help can you provide? We have advanced energy manipulation technology and powerful defensive systems, Zathura said. But we are a peaceful people. We have no experience with warfare beyond basic defense. Dr. Cooper was studying his sensor readings. Captain, the Zorathian energy signatures are incredibly advanced. Their power generation systems are beyond anything we've seen before, and their defensive shields are using some kind of adaptive technology. Chief Engineer Carlos Ramirez looked up from his engineering station. If we could combine their defensive technology with our weapon systems, we might have a chance. Morrison made his decision. High Chancellor, we're going to help you. Can your ships coordinate with ours? We will do whatever you ask, Zathura replied. But Captain Morrison, you must understand. The Vraxx have destroyed hundreds of civilizations. They have never been defeated in battle. Why would you risk your ship and your people for strangers? Morrison thought about the question for a moment. Around him, his bridge crew worked calmly and efficiently, preparing for a battle that would almost certainly end in their deaths. But none of them had suggested retreating. Because it's the right thing to do, he said simply. Because someone needs to stand up to these Vraxx and we're here now. Because your people asked for help and help is what we do. The first wave of Vraxx ships reached them before Morrison could say anything else. The alien vessels were ugly, things that looked like they had grown rather than been built. Their hulls were covered in what appeared to be armor made of bone and chitin, and they moved through space with an organic flowing motion that was disturbing to watch. Incoming weapons fire, Turner announced. Multiple energy beams and what appeared to be biological projectiles. The Titan's shields flared as the Vraxx weapons struck. Morrison felt the ship shudder under the impact. Return fire, all forward weapons, Morrison ordered. The Titan's main guns opened up, sending streams of coherent energy and kinetic projectiles toward the attacking Vraxx ships. The human weapons proved devastatingly effective. The first Vraxx ship to take a direct hit from the Titan's main gun simply disintegrated. Direct hit enemy vessel destroyed, Turner reported with satisfaction. But there were dozens more Vraxx ships, and they were learning quickly. The organic vessels began moving in unpredictable patterns, making them harder to target. Medical Officer Dr. Ben Clark's voice came over the intercom. Sick bay to bridge. I'm receiving reports of crew members feeling nauseous and disoriented. I think the Vraxx are using some kind of biological weapon that affects human nervous systems. Morrison looked at the tactical display. More Vraxx ships were approaching, and the Zorathian fleet was down to just a handful of vessels. Lisa, patch me through to all Zorathian ships, Morrison ordered. Channel open, Captain. All Zorathian vessels. This is Captain Morrison. We need to work together if we're going to survive this. Can your ships integrate with our tactical systems? High Chancellor Zathura's voice came through clearly. We will try, Captain. Our people are brave, but we do not know how to fight a war. Then, it's time you learned, Morrison replied, and we're going to teach you. The space around Kalara Prime had become a battlefield unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. The EDF Titan moved through the chaos like a predator among prey, its weapons cutting through Vraxx bioships with deadly precision. But for every enemy vessel they destroyed, two more seemed to take its place. Captain Jake Morrison gripped the arms of his command chair as another wave of Vraxx weapons struck the Titan's shields. The ship groaned under the impact, but the human-designed defensive systems held firm. Shield strength down to 70%, reported Chief Engineer Carlos Ramirez. But the adaptive modifications we made based on Zorathian technology are working. The Vraxx bioweapons are having less effect with each attack. Morrison nodded, watching the tactical display where Lieutenant Commander Alex Turner tracked dozens of enemy contacts. The Vraxx had sent nearly their entire fleet against the single human Dreadnought, apparently recognizing it as the primary threat. "Captain, I'm reading massive energy buildup from the lead Vraxx vessel," Turner announced. "It's 3 times larger than the others, some kind of command ship." Through the viewscreen, they could see the massive bioship approaching. Unlike the smaller Vraxx vessels, this one looked ancient and terrible, its organic hull covered in growths that pulsed with sickly light. As they watched, sections of its hull opened to reveal weapon arrays that defied description. "All Zorathian ships fall back to defensive positions around your planet," Morrison ordered over the communication system. "We'll handle the big one." "Hi," Chancellor Zethara's voice crackled over the speakers. "Captain Morrison, our sensors show that vessel contains the Vraxx hive mind coordinator. If it's destroyed, the other ships will be weakened." "Then that's our target," Morrison replied. "Alex, concentrate all forward firepower on that command ship." The Titan's main guns opened fire, sending a devastating barrage toward the Vraxx command vessel. But the enemy ship's organic hull absorbed the impacts like a living thing, the damage healing almost as quickly as it was inflicted. "Direct hits but minimal damage," Turner reported in frustration. "The bioarmor is regenerating faster than we can damage it." Dr. Ryan Cooper looked up from his science station. "Captain, I'm detecting some kind of neural network running throughout that ship's hull. It's not just armor, it's a living organism. Can we disrupt it somehow?" "I'm working on it, but I need more data about Vraxx biology." Security Chief Tony Brooks spoke up from his position near the rear of the bridge. "Captain, request permission to lead a boarding party. If we can get inside one of the smaller Vraxx ships, we might be able to gather the intelligence Dr. Cooper needs." Morrison considered the request. Boarding an enemy vessel during combat was extremely dangerous, but they needed information if they were going to win this battle. Permission granted. Take a full squad of Marines and get me some answers. As Brooks and his team prepared for their boarding action, the battle around them intensified. The Vraxx command ship had begun emitting some kind of biological weapon that made human crew members sick and disoriented. Several Zorathian vessels had already fallen back, their crews unable to function under the alien attack. "Medical to bridge," came Dr. Ben Clark's voice over the intercom. "I'm treating dozens of crew members for neural disruption. Whatever the Vraxx are doing, it's affecting our brain chemistry." Weapons Officer Nina Rodriguez worked frantically. At her station, directing the Titan's defensive systems against the swarm of smaller Vraxx ships. "Captain, the enemy is adapting to our tactics faster than expected. They're learning how to avoid our targeting systems." Morrison watched as another Zorathian ship took heavy damage and limped away from the battle. The peaceful aliens were doing their best, but they simply weren't prepared for the brutal reality of warfare against an enemy like the Vraxx. "Lisa, patch me through to all Zorathian vessels again," Morrison ordered. Communications Officer Lisa Barnes worked at her controls. "Channel open, Captain. All Zorathian ships, this is Morrison. I need you to focus entirely on defense and support. Use your energy manipulation abilities to strengthen our shields and power systems. Leave the fighting to us." High Chancellor Zethara's response came immediately. "Understood, Captain. We will do whatever we can to support your efforts." The change in tactics proved effective almost immediately. The Zorathian ships began projecting energy fields that enhanced the Titan's weapons and defensive systems. The combination of human military technology and Zorathian energy manipulation created effects that neither species could achieve alone. "Captain, this is Brooks. came the security chief's voice over the radio. "We've successfully boarded a damaged Vraxx vessel. The things inside are, well, they're not pleasant to look at, but Dr. Cooper was right about the neural network. The entire ship is like one big organism. Can you gather biological samples?" "Already on it. We're also finding some kind of central node that seems to coordinate the ship's functions. If I had to guess, I'd say this is how they maintain their hive mind connection." Dr. Cooper's voice joined the conversation. "Tony, can you disrupt that node somehow, even temporarily?" "Working on it now. These things are tough, but human explosives seem to work just fine on alien biology." The explosion that followed lit up space as Brooks and his team destroyed the Vraxx ship's neural coordination center. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Several nearby Vraxx vessels began moving erratically, their coordinated attack patterns falling apart. "It worked," Turner announced excitedly. "The Vraxx ships near the destroyed vessel are showing signs of confusion and disorganization." Morrison saw the opportunity immediately. "All weapons, target the confused enemy vessels. Nina, coordinate with the Zorathian ships to maximize our firepower." The next few minutes saw the tide of battle shift for the first time since the Titan had arrived. Working together, human weapons and Zorathian energy manipulation proved devastatingly effective against the disorganized Vraxx forces. But the victory was temporary. The massive Vraxx command ship began emitting stronger neural control signals, bringing the confused vessels back under hive mind control. "The big ship is compensating," Cooper reported. "It's using more power to maintain control over the smaller vessels, but it's working." Morrison stared at the enemy command ship, thinking furiously. They had proven that the Vraxx hive mind could be disrupted, but only temporarily. They needed a way to cause permanent damage to the enemy's coordination system. "Ryan, what would happen if we could overload that command ship's neural network?" Cooper looked up from his calculations. "Theoretically, it would cause a feedback loop that could damage or destroy the hive mind connection across their entire fleet. But Captain, we'd need to generate a massive electromagnetic pulse directly inside their neural network." "How massive?" "More than the Titan can produce alone. We'd need to combine our power generation with Zorathian energy manipulation, and we'd have to get close enough to the command ship to make direct contact." Morrison looked at the tactical display. The Vraxx command ship was heavily defended by dozens of smaller vessels. Getting close enough for direct contact would be almost suicidal. Almost suicidal was not the same as impossible. "Lisa, get me High Chancellor Zathara." The Zorathian leader appeared on screen, her crystalline features showing determination despite the desperate situation. "High Chancellor, we have a plan to defeat the Vraxx, but it's going to require perfect coordination between our ships. Are your people ready to risk everything on one final attack?" Zathara's large eyes showed no hesitation. "Captain Morrison, your people came here to save strangers. The least we can do is stand with you when you need us most." The plan was simple in concept, but terrifying in execution. The EDF Titan would charge directly at the massive Vraxx command ship, while the remaining Zorathian vessels provided power amplification for a devastating electromagnetic pulse. If it worked, they would destroy the hive mind network controlling the entire Vraxx fleet. If it failed, everyone would die. Captain Jake Morrison stood at the center of the bridge, watching as his crew prepared for what might be their final battle. Around him, 15,000 human souls worked with calm efficiency, knowing that the survival of two civilizations depended on their actions in the next few minutes. "Engineering report," Morrison ordered. Chief Engineer Carlos Ramirez's voice came through clearly. "All systems running at maximum capacity, Captain. We're channeling every available ounce of power into the electromagnetic pulse generators. The Zorathian energy feeds are integrated and stable." Dr. Ryan Cooper looked up from his science station. "The theoretical calculations check out, Captain. If we can maintain the energy link with the Zorathian ships while making direct contact with the Vraxx command vessel, the pulse should overload their neural network completely." "And if we can't maintain the link?" Morrison asked, though he already knew the answer. "Then we'll be destroyed by the command ship's defenses long before we get close enough to do any damage." Lieutenant Commander Alex Turner worked frantically at his tactical station. "Captain, the Vraxx are repositioning their fleet. They seem to understand that we're planning something. The command ship is moving deeper into their defensive formation. Morrison nodded. The Vraxx hive mind was intelligent and adaptive. They had learned from the earlier disruption caused by Security Chief Tony Brooks and his boarding party. Now, they were taking steps to protect their most important vessel. Time to target, Morrison asked. Navigation Officer Sam Mitchell checked his calculations. At current speed and heading, we'll reach the Vraxx defensive perimeter in 4 minutes. Direct contact with the command ship in 7 minutes. Lisa, open a channel to all Zorathian vessels, Morrison ordered. Communications Officer Lisa Barnes worked at her controls. Channel open, Captain. Morrison took a deep breath before speaking. All Zorathian ships, this is your final chance to withdraw. What we're about to do is extremely dangerous, and there's a good chance none of us will survive. High Chancellor. Zethara's musical voice responded immediately. Captain Morrison, the Vraxx have destroyed hundreds of civilizations across the galaxy. Today, for the first time, someone stands against them. We will not abandon you now. The other Zorathian ship commanders echoed their leader's words. Despite being a peaceful people with no experience in warfare, they were ready to die fighting beside the humans who had come to save them. Then let's finish this, Morrison said. The Titan accelerated toward the heart of the Vraxx fleet, its massive bulk cutting through space like a missile aimed at the enemy's heart. Behind and around it, the surviving Zorathian vessels maintained their energy links, pouring power into the human ship's systems. The Vraxx response was immediate and overwhelming. Dozens of bioships converged on the charging Dreadnought, their weapons tearing at the Titan's shields with desperate fury. The enemy seemed to understand that this was humanity's final gambit. Shield strength dropping rapidly, reported Ramirez, down to 40% and falling. The Vraxx weapons are more effective when concentrated like this. Weapons Officer Nina Rodriguez coordinated the Titan's defensive fire, her targeting systems working overtime to clear a path through the swarm of enemy vessels. I'm doing what I can, but there are too many of them. We're going to take heavy damage before we reach the command ship. As if to emphasize her words, a massive impact shook the entire vessel. Emergency lights flickered throughout the bridge as damage control teams raced to repair critical systems. Hull breach on Deck 15, came a voice over the intercom. Emergency force fields are holding, but we've lost 2 weapon batteries. Morrison gripped his command chair as another wave of Vraxx fire struck the ship. Through the view screen, he could see the enemy command vessel growing larger, its grotesque organic hull pulsing with alien life. 3 minutes to target, Mitchell announced. Dr. Ben Clark's voice crackled over the communication system. Medical to bridge. I'm getting reports of crew members collapsing throughout the ship. The Vraxx neural weapons are getting stronger as we get closer to their command ship. Can you counteract the effects? I'm trying, but whatever they're doing is unlike anything in our medical databases. It's affecting human brain chemistry in ways we don't understand. Morrison looked around the bridge. Several of his crew members were showing signs of distress, holding their heads or moving unsteadily. But they remained at their posts, continuing to do their jobs despite the alien attack on their minds. Captain, Dr. Cooper said, his voice strained, I'm detecting massive energy buildup from the Vraxx command ship. They're preparing some kind of superweapon. Through the view screen, they could see sections of the enemy vessel's hull opening to reveal a weapon array unlike anything they had encountered before. The organic cannons were the size of city blocks, and they were all aimed directly at the approaching Titan. 2 minutes to target, Mitchell reported. But Captain, if that thing fires, it won't matter, Morrison said firmly. We're committed. Now, all power to forward shields. The Zorathian energy feeds intensified, pouring additional power into the Titan's defensive systems. The ship's shields flared brightly as they absorbed energy from half a dozen alien vessels, creating a protective barrier unlike anything human technology could produce alone. Nina, I need you to clear us a path directly to the command ship's hull, Morrison ordered. Everything you've got, right down the middle. Rodriguez's fingers flew over her controls. Aye, Captain. Firing all forward weapons. The Titan's main guns opened up with devastating effect, carving a tunnel of destruction through the swarm of smaller Vraxx vessels. Kinetic projectiles and energy beams tore through organic hulls, while the ship's missile systems launched everything they had at the enemy formation. 1 minute to target, Mitchell announced. The Vraxx command ship's superweapon began to glow, with terrible energy. Morrison could see sections of its hull rippling as power built up within the organic structure. When it fired, nothing would be left of the Titan or its crew. "Ryan, are the pulse generators ready?" Morrison asked. "As ready as they'll ever be," Cooper replied. "But Captain, we need to maintain the Zorathian energy links right up until the moment of contact. If we lose that connection, we won't lose it," Morrison said. He opened a channel to the Zorathian ships. "High Chancellor, we're almost there. Whatever happens in the next 60 seconds, don't break the energy link." "We understand, Captain Morrison. We will hold the connection until the end." The Titan raced toward the Vraxx command ship, its hull glowing from the intense energy fields surrounding it. Enemy fire tore at its shields while the ship's own weapons cleared the final obstacles from its path. 30 seconds to contact, Mitchell announced. The Vraxx superweapon was almost ready to fire. Morrison could see the terrible energy building within the organic cannons preparing to erase his ship from existence. "All hands, brace for impact," Morrison announced over the ship's communication system. 15 seconds to contact. The enemy superweapon began to fire just as the Titan struck the Vraxx command ship's hull. For a brief moment, space around, Kalara Prime lit up like a new star as human technology. Zorathian energy manipulation and Vraxx bioweapons collided in a cataclysm that shook the entire solar system.